We're having a burial at my husband's place and we had to sew uniform. I'm to sew for myself and for the twins, but let's sew that of the twins first. I measured the both ends and the highest gave me 22. So what I did was to measure 22 to give me a round flare. And you can see how I am measuring it. From the top there, I measured 22 and then I chopped. After I was done cutting, next thing is to cut it out. At the upper part there, I just measured out 2 inches and then I chopped. The essence of measuring out just 2 inches is to make sure that that particular area is not wide at all. I opened this up like so and I chalked the neckline and the armhole. For the depth of the neckline, it is 2 inches and the depth of the armhole, it is 3 inches. For this dress, I'm using a bias and not a facing. I'll be sewing the neckline first. You can see exactly how I place the bias on the right side of my fabric. I went ahead to sew and then I flipped the bias to the wrong side of my fabric and I sewed as well. I did this same method for both the front and back neckline. You can see the way I placed the bias and stitched. I turned the fabric to the back, flipped the bias to the back and I stitched as well. As you can see, we're done piping both the front and back neckline. Now let's move over to the armhole. If you watch closely, you'll see that before I even started piping the armhole, I had to fold the tip of the bias, and after I was done sewing, I had to fold in the tip of the bias as well. Now we're done with this part. Let's move over to the next. You can see how the area where I piped is looking. We're done with that part. Let's move over to the next. I cut out 2 pieces of fabric, both of which are 7.5 inches in length and 3.5 inches in width. Next is to flip the piece like so that it can be equal and then sew the edges. If you pay attention to this, you see that there's an area where I did not sew. I didn't sew this completely because the other part is where I'll be turning it. I did this for the both piece I cut out and I flipped it over to the front. This was much easier for me to turn because the piece I am working with is short. After flipping it over to the front, the opening where I turned it with, I had to stitch it. I did this for the both piece. Now this thing we're working on is going to serve as our small sleeve. Now that point that connects the armhole and the neckline together, that is where you're going to be placing it and you're going to be stitching it as well. Just make sure to stitch both ends on the dress, and when you're attaching this, make sure that you're stitching it at the back and not in front. I was done attaching the tiny sleeve and this is what our dress is looking like. We are not completely done. Let's move to the next. For this dress, I'll be adding an orange net because I want this to be looking very colorful. So what I did was just to fold this net into 6 so that it will be very easy for me to cut it out this way. I made sure the width of this rope did not exceed 2.5 because you don't want this net to be bold. I cut out the quantity of net that would be enough for what I want to use it for. The next thing is to pleat. My machine didn't do the gathers the way I wanted it to be, so after I was done stitching, I had to gather it with my hand. I was done with both the sewing and the gathering, and this is what we have. I had to attach this to the small sleeve we made earlier. On each sleeve, I made sure to sew the net in 3 sections. This way, that tiny sleeve is not going to be showing at all. What will be seen as the sleeve is the net itself, and this would not make them uncomfortable at all because we sewed the net on a fabric. I was done making these simple dresses for my princesses and I cannot wait to show you how they rocked it.